Hello and welcome to Curdcast, the podcast for people who like to eat cheese. I'm your host, Jen Mason, and with me today, again, as she's with me every month, is Julie Fayfan Balzer. Hello, Julie.
Hello.
Are you ready for Oktoberfest?
I mean, if it involves eating food, yes. If it involves drinking beer, probably not.
No beer drinking will be needed, but we do have this lovely, isn't this the cutest little?
I have to tell you, when I pulled this out of the box, I was like, what the what? And I looked at it 8 times.
It's got brittle in it. We'll talk about that in a minute. For those of you just joining us for the first time who have never experienced the magic that is Curdcast, we talk through Curdbox every month. Curdbox is a cheese and pairing experience. You get 3 cheeses, 3 pairings, and they all revolve around a story. This month's story is Oktoberfest. And so it's like an edible experience. Some people think of it as dinner for, one night of the month. Some people wait and get friends together for it. But Julie and I get to eat. Sometimes we're together now that COVID is, sort of figuring out what it wants to do. And sometimes we're far apart because Julie's got a wee little one who's not feeling well. So we are going to do this one remotely today. And by remote, we're 2 miles away. Not terribly remote. But I'm really excited about this. We're going to talk about the cheese, but the reason I'm kind of excited about this is that all of our pairings today have these fun little stories of like this to that. That could have also been the theme of this box. This to that.
I know the people who are listening to this can't see, especially like when we were holding up the beer can. But I have to say, the packaging on everything this month is maybe the cutest it's ever been. Between the beer can, the tiniest jam jar I've ever seen that's so cute, and then the really nice graphics on these pretzels. Like, I was just like, this is beautiful packaging. When did people up their packaging game?
Do you judge a book by its cover?
100%. First of all, I'm super judgmental anyway. So yes, I absolutely judge everything by its cover.
This could also be known as the judgy podcast because I am also judgy. And here's what I say. Having written 6 books, Julie's written a book too. I totally judge a book by its cover. I know it's in the process of putting on a cover. And I think if the editor doesn't like you enough to help you get a good cover, it means they don't think your book's going to sell. So I entirely judge a book by its cover and also food by its packaging. And I love the packaging on this, especially those pretzels today. Everything in that company's line, we'll talk about them in a minute, is stunning. They pulled me, their graphics pulled me in at the fancy food show, made me want to come talk to them. I thought these people care enough about what the outside of the package is. I know the inside of the package must be absolutely amazing. And it is, and it was, and I'm very excited to share that with you today. But we should get started on cheese so that we can get people understanding our whole little theme today of Oktoberfest. It's a party. It's fall, and we had kind of the fallish flavors. I don't know what that exactly is because I don't eat
pumpkin spice.
It's not pumpkin spice. Maybe one day we'll do a pumpkin spice.
Well, no, I feel like pumpkin spice has taken over the flavor profile of fall, and it's not actually the only fall flavor.
Exactly. It's all of our heartier. Squashes are heavier, more sustainable, not sustainable as in eco-friendly, but sustainable as in they feed your soul. They keep you going. They've got enough calories in them to get you through the cold days, in olden days when we didn't have puffer down jackets. But we're going to start with our mildest cheese today. And Julie and I have eaten through so many boxes. We try to eat through the cheeses from mildest to least mild, and it might be spicy that it's not mild, or it could be brothy that it's not mild, or it could be stinky, or it could be whatever, all those different things. But we're going to start with our first one, and this is the Butterkäse by Ammerlander. And this is from Germany.
I need some help. Which one is this?
This
is
was
the rindless
one. Yes, this was the rindless, softest one. Julie's saying that because she takes hers out of her package and it doesn't still say what it is. And these 3 are all very much the same color. This is the youngest cheese, 4 to 5 weeks. It's a cow's milk cheese. It's made in Germany. And I was just eating the wrong one. I That one tasted like beer. I have two that are cut into sort of a triangle shape. So this is the softest one at room temperature. And I only got mine out like 45 minutes before this. So mine's not totally at room temperature. This is actually spreadable at room temperature.
This is a nice, friendly, and flexible, as you always have taught me to say. It's the kind of cheese that like just everyone likes, goes well. It has a little bit of that sort of sour cream flavor that like some Swiss cheeses have, kind of.
Totally. Very good. So this was sort of in the first version of this cheese was really bel paese, which is an Italian cheese. And this is the German version of it. I'm going to talk about this company because they've also made our next cheese. We're going to have two. Ammerlander. It was founded in 1885 and it's by 7 farmers. It's a co-op. And it's up in like the northern German plains. And it's one of Europe's largest and most technologically advanced. But this is like so interesting that this company started in 1885, still making beautiful products. Their cows, they have like the cow brushes. I don't know if you've ever seen them on TikTok or Facebook or on your reels. They have these big spinning brushes, kind of like what you might imagine in the old scratchy kind of car washes that had the spinning brushes, but the cows will like go up to them. They like to be pet and they'll let it go on their back. It feels good for them. It also helps stimulate their metabolism, all sorts of stuff. But they have, I just love it. I wish somebody would figure out what the big brush for cows equivalent is for humans, because I'd insert like them all over my store and people just be happy and their metabolisms would be stimulated, which would be great. But a great cheese. This is really, it's delicate character. It says in my notes here, earned the nickname dominicaze, which means ladies' cheese, which means this is the delicate. This was created for those people who didn't like what back in the day, the Germans were making a more stinky type of cheese. And this was for those people who were like, stop with all the stinkiness. So it's a beautiful one. And it's great for what we're pairing it with today, because it's going to go with all of our pairings. So beautiful cheese.
Is the word butter in it at all related to something being butter, or because it's German, there's just absolutely no relationship?
Because it is light, soft, buttery flavor and spreadable. I think that's where they pulled that name, butter cheese, because it is so mild. It is got that acidic flavor. A lot of that is because of its young nature, and some of it is because of the cultures that make it, cultures from that area. So we've got this at room temperature, should be spreadable, and not like spreadable like cream cheese, but like you could smush it on a piece of toast and it's going to start to melt into those crannies. I think this would be fantastic, sort of spread out on a toasted English muffin, like for a quick and easy lunch. But we're going to go next to our smoked Gruyere. This is the one that has, it'll be the one that smells smoked. And it's very subtle to me, which is lovely. Sometimes a smoked cheese just smells like it's fake. This is a great one. They're calling this, Ammerlander calls this a smoked Gruyere. So it's not technically a Gruyere.
I'm in love with this cheese.
Protected cheese name sense, but oh my goodness.
This cheese
it tastes like you're having a ham and cheese sandwich and there's no ham in it. Right?
I have to say, I agree with you. The smoke flavor, sometimes it feels like they've added smoke flavor. This feels like it's come by it honestly, as they say.
Oh yeah. And anything you wanted to add bacon to but couldn't, maybe you have a vegetarian. By the way, this is a vegetarian cheese. So this is a way for if you want to get that sort of meaty taste. You're not actually getting the meat. We've tricked our senses because we eat bacon and smoked meats, and when we taste that flavor, we think meat, but we have smoked cheese here.
So good. I have to step away from the plate, or I'm going to eat so much of it.
Save some for pairings. Beautiful, beautiful cheese. It's in the smooth and melty category as well. It's totally going to melt beautifully. Think of any place you would want to add bacon, and you could do this. You could shred this and put this in a casserole that you wanted, do a couple cheeses. This in a mac and cheese would be fantastic. Just beautiful. So Great cheese, this smoked Gruyere. And then our last one, and the reason I knew the minute I took a bite of this one that this wasn't it, is because this one actually has beer in it. So this is Paulus, and this one is made by
Oh, wow.
Daily Dairy.
You can really taste the beer in it. I have never had anything like that in my whole life.
So this is very interesting in that it's a Gouda that has beer in it. Usually we get more cheddars that have beers. This one is called Paulus Abbey beer cheese by Daily Dairy. Comes from Holland. And it's named after the second oldest monastery in the Netherlands. Benedictine monks used to brew beer there, and they made their own cheese. The monastery disbanded in 1580, a long time ago, and this was brought back. So this new company has created this new cheese based on an old recipe. And it's fresh and slightly hoppy. I have like my bitter sensors are one of the reasons why I don't drink a lot of beer. We're going to talk about what kind of beers I do like in a second, because everybody's dying to know. But this is really nice. It feels like the cheese makes it mellow, but it gives it an interesting flavor.
It's the thing that's amazing to me is that it really tastes to me like drinking a beer. I don't know how to put it. Like, I am back in college. I am drinking a beer, which is probably the last time that I really had a beer. But yeah, like it's almost like, this is going to sound crazy, but like in Willy Wonka, where she eats the food, where she can like taste the tomato soup and taste the turkey dinner.
Totally.
Like, you can taste
magic.
the beer. They put beer in this little piece of cheese.
Yeah. And it doesn't taste like, sometimes when I have beer flavored things, they taste more like this sat in a frat house for too long. Kind of, it has essence of beer. This has beer in it. And it's just so cool that they sort of found an old recipe, tried it, recreated it. And I love what they did here. My nose is itching now. Yeah, super fun. So 3 totally different cheeses. We've got sort of this meaty cheese. We've got this like lovely, simple lady cheese, ladies cheese, the buttercause. And then we've got this one that is like drinking a glass of beer. But even for, I think, you and I who aren't beer drinkers, it's interesting and enjoyable. So now let's find some pairings. And I'm really excited about this, even though cheese is always the star of our boxes, because in doing our research on these companies and these products today, this really was a from this to that process. So let's start with the jam. So let's go ahead and taste that. And I will tell you.
Ever.
So this jam is created by a woman named Lori Bean, who was a pastry chef. That's how she was classically trained. She was trying to find a job as a pastry chef. And she ended up going from this, a pastry chef, to making jams and spreads. Basically, her father gave her a book about canning and some of her grandmother's old canning supplies, and she started doing that. And one thing led to another, and she ended up making jams instead of pastries. So she started one place. Tangentially, I mean, I would say jam and jelly is very it's like peanut butter and jelly and jam and toast, and so she didn't go too far, but really
to eat jams with your fingers. But this is like a really interesting combination of savory and sweet.
Yeah, it really is, because she uses a cider vinegar in this and the garlic, and she's using a beer. She's using Yingling brand lager, which is hilarious because it's one of my husband's favorite beers to get when we'd go through Pennsylvania. You could always find it there. And I always thought from the name that it was an Asian style beer. And I felt stupid the first time I said something like, we should have this with Chinese food, guys. And they're like, it's Pennsylvanian. And I thought, I need to learn more stuff and drink more beer. But anyways, Yingling, which is like a cult favorite in the Midwest, is adding some to that, but I think it's the cider vinegar. And this is technically a spread, even though the company's name is Georgia Jams. Her most of her products don't have enough sugar in them to meet the minimum requirement to be called a jam. But she thought the name Georgia Jams was better than Georgia Spreads. So there we have it. This beautiful, beautiful jam, which, by the way, I think is going to be fantastic with that smoked Gruyere style.
Well, it's got a little bit of bite in it too, which is nice.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's got that garlic bite. So it's warming and not like, oh no, I can't taste anything after I've had a bite of it. Okay, so our next this to that story is our yellow mustard pretzels. I love these. So I've had a lot of honey mustard this and honey mustard that. This literally.
Sorry, I'm crinkling.
ASMR version. Those pretzels literally taste like sort of yellow mustard, like the best yellow mustard you've ever had. And pretzels, like you've dipped it in to it, right? It's not just like essence of honey mustard. And this isn't honey mustard. This is yellow mustard.
Well, the reason it's interesting is because yellow mustard actually has a kind of sweetness in it, which is one of the reasons I think you could said honey mustard, because honey mustard goes further with it. But yellow mustard doesn't have the kick sometimes that like Dijons and stuff have. There is more sort of a sweetness, and that's what these pretzels have too, which is really nice.
It really does. So these are from Pop Daddy Snacks. Like I said, beautiful packaging on everything they make. And I think I tasted everything they make at the Fancy Food Show. So I can vouch for anything you see that looks like it comes from their packaging. Buy it, try it. It's great. Fantastic. And the founders, Mark and Aaron Sarafa, had sort of this obsession for microwave popcorn, and then found out there's a lot of kind of chemicals and stuff that makes microwave popcorn work. They decided to stop using that, and they got a popcorn popper and started making it's like a large machine, not just like, you know, a little one, and started experimenting with popcorn, and they started making flavored popcorn and then giving it away, and people loved it. So then they started selling it. And then one day somebody brought them somebody made them some homemade flavored pretzels, and they loved them. So they tried making them, and then they brought them to their employees to try, just sort of as a gift, like, hey, here's snacks kind of thing, I believe. And the employees loved them so much, they made them add them to the lineup. So
that's awesome.
They went from being a popcorn company to making also pretzels. They still make popcorn, and they're great. So I highly recommend you try all of their flavors. But we thought having mustard in this box would be great. We already had a spread, so we put the mustard on the pretzels instead to make this themed box. All right. So our third and last pairing, before we get to talk about all of them and what we like together, is our coffee stout brittle. So that's the one for those of you who are in the video.
Packaging in the entire world. It looks like a can, but it opens just like a peanut brittle can would open, and not like a beer can would open.
Exactly. So the top just pops off. It looks like a beer can. For those of you who can't see, it looks like there's a beer label on it. I'm totally keeping this can afterwards. This is
Me too. I was like, it says on it like, please recycle. I was like, no, nobody's recycling this.
Reuse. Yeah, right. It's so great. It's so great. I think you could just leave it on when you do your classes. People think you're drinking beer brittle.
Right? Just have it in my car, my open container of peanut brittle.
It's so great. I just think it's so fun. And I have to say, again, saw them at the Fancy Food Show, guys, and immediately Erica and I, one of my most valuable employees at Curdbox, saw these across the way, and we did what we needed to do to get this into this box. And they make a bunch of different flavors. I picked the coffee stout because it gives me the opportunity to talk to people about different kinds of, and I already took mine out, so I don't know why I'm going to keep opening this, different kinds of beer out there. I'm not encouraging everybody to drink beer, but if you've tried some and you don't like it,
well, you're not even a coffee person, so I find this hilarious.
I like coffee flavored things. I just don't like coffee. But sorry. I put a piece in my mouth and now I'm all crunchy. But if I'm going to like a coffee, if I'm going to like a beer, I tend to like the stouts family. It's a little sweeter. It's denser. It's sort of like the hot chocolate version of the beer wine. And again, it's more of a sipping thing. It's just like, but if you can find the right one, you can find a coffee stout. Sometimes I'll have like a peanut butter stout or a coffee porter or peanut butter. Like they actually taste like that. And that with a blue cheese and some caramel sauce can be really, really interesting. And like the levels of different like flavors you're adding on there are enjoyable. So if you ever go to a beer place, especially one that brews itself and they have like flights and you can try something outside of the lager IPA stuff, if you don't really love those, and try things like the sours or the stouts or the porters, and a sour is not a dark beer, but try some of them and see if there's anything else you do like, because you never know until you try it. And we tend, who wants to order a beer at a restaurant and not try the whole thing or pay for one and not like it. So getting a flight is great. Or when you go to your local wine and beer store, a lot of them these days have a cooler that have mix and match beers. So you only have to get one of each kind. And if you have a spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or friend or your adult child or your parent or whoever that likes beer, next time they're coming over, think about stopping and picking up 4 or 5 different things that look really interesting. Judge them by their cover and try them out. Maybe get a few cheeses and see what you like and have fun with it. But you're each sharing the beer. Maybe you can share them amongst a couple people because you'll have a bunch of beers, and use it to experiment. It's so great. If you could buy like a bunch of really great little wines, it would be fantastic. They don't really make a lot of. There are some small size wines, but it's a little harder to do with wine, but it's really easy to do with beer, with ciders, and even with sodas. I mean, you can go to some really fun places and buy all different kinds of sodas.
Do it with ice cream, really, I think.
Ice cream, totally. There's so many ways to do it. There's so many ways
to have a sampling of just little things that you like.
Coffees, iced coffees. Yeah, give it a try.
I have to say, with this brittle, if you hadn't told me that there was coffee and beer in it, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, it's just your brain might not have even come up with what it was if you had to think about it. Not just that you didn't first get it, but you are getting these layers of flavors that are more complex. They're not one note. I guess is the exciting thing for us.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is interesting because we have beer, but it's coffee. We have pretzels, but they're mustard. We have jam, but it's garlic. We have cheese.
But it tastes like beer.
Cheese that tastes like butter and cheese that tastes like beer. Nothing is as it seems in this Oktoberbox. So I encourage you to start mixing and matching and see what you like. And while you're doing that, I'm going to tell people who are new to this that, we sometimes make a box and it doesn't matter what things you put in your mouth. You could put a bite with everything on it and it's all going to taste good. And sometimes it's like, oh, these nuts are like the palate cleanser of the plate, or this jam goes with everything, but not everything goes with everything else, or there's different ways. And I think this is a box that is going to be a pick and choose, but it kind of doesn't matter what you eat next, you will like it. But I think there are going to be some multiple complex notes here as we mix things together. So Julie, what did you try first?
So I tried the smoked cheese with the jam, which was fabulous. I tried the pretzel with the beer cheese because I thought that was a natural.
Yeah.
I'm currently mixing the jam with the beer cheese because I thought maybe the sweet and the beer would be an interesting combo.
Very much so.
That's a really good one. What are you doing?
So I am going to do I'm going to put butter on brittle. I'm doing butter kaze with the brittle.
I'm going to try that.
It's interesting to eat them together too, because the butter kaze is so mild. It's almost like having ice cream with crunchy.
Well, it really changes the mouthfeel of the brittle. Do you know what I mean? It makes it somehow more umami.
Very much. Yeah. Well, as we always say, like, when we start with two things that we're pairing together, what we want is to love them all. So we hope that if you're eating along with us, you love everything in the box. And then when you eat two things together, you're like, I didn't think I could love them anymore, but now I love them more. It's like when your favorite child, okay, you never have a favorite child, but when your favorite child like takes out the trash without being asked, you're like, I couldn't believe I love you even more, but I do. So, that's the ideal world of tasting. For those of you who aren't eating along, but you are listening along, I just want to let you know that November is coming up. We've got a great theme. We don't give away our themes beforehand, but we're excited about our theme. There's a lot of story behind what we're going to be talking about for our November box, and December box is coming up great. Feel free to be thinking of us as gifts for your loved ones. You can now add wine on, but in the meantime, what you can learn from this that you can try is that you basically can think of these things. What would you do for an Oktoberfest type box?
I have to say, speaking of gifts,
Yeah.
so my mom got my sister-in-law a Curdbox for a gift, and then my sister-in-law loved it so much that she is a loyal subscriber.
Oh, that's very sweet. And, she probably likes listening to us gab about the food we're shoving in her mouth. Too. Oh, it's so great. And we do have a lot of people who do love it so much that either they ask they got it from their parent, they ask for it every year, or that they start subscribing. We have one woman who I absolutely adore. She leaves comments on our podcast a lot. And last year, all of her children bought her a subscription and they didn't tell each other. And she had subscribed as well. And so our smart little elves at headquarters figured this out and talked to all the kids and said, would you like us just to line these up so she doesn't get 4 boxes in January? Right. And she ended up getting a whole year of cheese between her subscription and her kid's subscription. And it was fantastic, and she got cheesy joy all year. But
I have to say, I think I told you this offline, but I was in my art booth selling like earrings and handmade cards, and this woman walked right up to me and she said, I love the Curdcast.
Oh,
I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I feel like all kinds of people, I mean, like everybody likes cheese. You just so rarely run into somebody who's like, I don't like cheese. And again, I think the pairings are always so unusual and so interesting. And it feels like a gift that I know my friends and family love to get because they don't have a choice. And many other people do too.
Yeah, it's fun. What we're finding these days, I think not just our company, but people in general, what I see in the news and what I see in holiday guides is that people are looking for experiences and consumables. I think people spent a lot of time clearing out their houses when they were stuck inside for COVID, and we have a new appreciation for what earns the right to come into our homes, and things that bring us joy. If we want to Marie Kondo it, are one of the things. And we need food, we need sustenance, and one of our big hashtags here at Curdbox, as you know, is stop eating boring. We know that people like trying new foods, like good foods, like trying new versions of the foods that they love. But life gets in the way. And when we go to the grocery store, we put the same darn thing in our cart. We don't try a different version of the cherry jam. We don't try a different version of the tortilla chips. We kind of just put the same things that we know because we just want to get in and out. And so this is like our little gift to give you to try new things, bring a little joy to your life once a month, and or to somebody you love. And it's fun for me because this is the best job in the world. I get to go out and find cool things, and like literally, we found this can, the pretzels and the can of brittle back in June, and I have been dying to get to October just so that I could send it to you guys. So, Julie, I am so glad you could join me for this one. I hope your little guy is feeling better. Let me tell everybody where they can find our goodies today. So our first 2 cheeses, the butterkaze and the smoked Gruyere style cheese, come from Ammerlander, and that is at Ambassador Foods. The Paulus Abbey beer cheese comes from at Daily Dairy Holland. Our garlic spread from Georgia Jams comes from at Georgia Jams. That one makes sense. Pop Daddy Snacks is at Pop Daddy Snacks. And then our cool brittle in a beer can. Guys, you can get like 4 packs of these. So cool. If you've got a beer lover in your family, but you don't feel like sending them beer, like this is the coolest gift. Go to @Bruce Julian Heritage Foods. And you can find Julie at What Julie Ate. And you can follow us at Curdbox, and you can get your Curdbox and eat along with Julie and I for next month at curdbox.com. We hope you'll think of us for the holidays for your loved ones, and help them to stop eating boring. And until next month, Julie, well, I'll see you this week, but everybody else, till next month, have a great one, and eat cheesy. Bye.